Hello everyone, welcome to my dinner show. Tonight I'm going to show you how easy and simple it is to put a home-cooked meal on the table in under 30 minutes using our deep covered baker. This deep covered baker is actually going viral as what the internet is referring to as the magic pot, and it absolutely is a magic pot. You can put this deep covered baker in the oven, you can use it in the microwave, and it just makes cooking meals so simple. I'm gonna use this one dish to bake everything in tonight. Obviously I've got a couple other dishes for measuring and that kind of thing, but as far as actually cooking, it's a one pot meal. All right, let's get started. So we're gonna start with some spaghetti here. And again, this is bruschetta pasta. I probably am not pronouncing that 100% correctly. I'm not Italian, so forgive my pronunciation. But we're gonna start with 1 pound of spaghetti noodles. All right, and don't come at me. The recipe actually tells me to break them in half, so I'm gonna break them in half. I know that's pretty controversial. I actually grew up in a household where we always broke them in half just because we had a hard time getting them on the fork otherwise. But anyway, this is personal preference. You do you. If you don't want to break your noodles in half, don't break them in half. But that's what this recipe calls for, and so I'm going to follow the recipe to the best of my ability tonight. This dinner will probably also serve as a lunch for me and my kiddo tomorrow, because let's face it, 1 pound of spaghetti is quite a bit, and there's only 3 of us in the household. But on Saturdays, it's sometimes hard to have a good home-cooked lunch because we have football games and practice and all kinds of stuff. So this will give us an easy meal to reheat before my kiddo scrimmages tomorrow evening. All right, that's all the pasta. So then I'm going to add in 4 cups of chicken broth. You can use chicken or vegetable broth. I chose chicken broth because that's what I had on hand. Again, you do you. I'm gonna pour it just straight in to the pot here, just all over my noodles. So you can see it's all in there. I don't know how well you can see it. I can't tip it too far because then it'll all spill out, but it's in there. I'm gonna cover it and I'm gonna put it in the microwave for 8 minutes. And while that's cooking, we'll get the rest of the meal ready. All right, so that is in for 8 minutes. So now I'm going to get my tomatoes and my basil and get those cut. So I have my tomatoes and my basil in my salad and berry spinner. I'm gonna spin that a couple of times because I washed it before I started the video. And so I'm just gonna spin it a couple of times to get them all dried off. If you need them to dry more, you just keep spinning. I'm gonna spin it just a little bit longer. All right, that should be good. All right, and then I'm just gonna cut these into some large chunks and then put in my manual processor. Just like butter. of your fingers. And I don't know if I said, but it calls for 4 tomatoes. So chopping up 4 tomatoes. In the comments, why don't you guys tell me what your favorite kind of go-to meal is? Is this a busy season for you like it is for most of us with school starting back? Do you have some easy recipes that you kind of fall to and go to so that you're not always eating out? Does your family tend to eat out more when they're busy? Yeah, just let me know in the comments. I know we kind of go through seasons. I try to cook at home when I can. I prefer cooking at home. I know it's healthier. I know just things taste fresher. I get tired of eating the same things over and over again eating out. So at least cooking at home, even if I have my couple go-to meals, I'm able to, change them up a little bit, do a different seasoning, make it taste a little different or whatever, to where when you eat out, it tends to end up being the same thing over and over again, or at least it does for us. But during sports seasons, it's hard. And actually, we just went through a season, it wasn't even sports, it was just a busy season, and so I just didn't cook at home as much. So I'm trying to kind of get back in that groove. Even though football's here and we're busy and everything, I'm trying to find easy recipes, easy meals that I can just kind of throw in the microwave or the oven and heat up, and just not spend hours on end in the kitchen. So anything I can find that is 30 minutes or less is perfect for our little family of 3. And again, I know some people prefer to not cook in the microwave at all. A lot of people are getting on a healthier kick and stuff lately. Totally fine. These dinners can go in the microwave or the oven. Like I said, that deep covered baker is also oven safe. So that's what I like about these meals too, is just I can do the same thing, but depending on my mood, I can either cook it in the oven or the microwave, and it's not any different. I'm actually going to get one of my other cutting boards. That took way more room than I thought it would. I should have got my bigger one anyway, and I just didn't. I'm gonna get my other cutting board. I'll be right back. I could have just slid that on there, but I'm just going to stack it and keep going. Just to save a little bit of space. All right, and then it takes 1/4 of a cup of basil leaves. So I pre-measured the basil leaves and then put them in here to wash. I'm just gonna kind of chop them up a little bit. I'm not gonna do anything too crazy because I'm about to put it in my processor and it'll chop it up the rest of the way. But I'm just gonna chop it up a little bit so that they're not as big of chunks. Again, the recipe calls for fresh basil leaves, and if you have fresh, use fresh. If you don't, use basil seasoning, use whatever you want, substitute it. I'm known quite a bit for substituting things. I'm trying to stick to the recipe pretty closely tonight, but I'm known usually to substitute things. If I don't have something on hand, then I use what I have. processor here with a few of the basil leaves. I'm going to give that a few spins. Decide how thin to chop these. Sorry, if you guys see me kind of looking off, I do have, I'll be completely honest, I have my computer up and I have the recipe. This is the first time I'm actually trying this recipe, so I'm trying it for the first time with you guys. A little bit warm, so I probably should have grabbed my mitts, but I did not, so here we are. Saw that steam came out of there. Okay, my computer keeps going to a different tab because I have a extension that's working in the background here, so I do apologize. I keep having to kind of scroll. I'm going to stir these noodles in. Okay. Now I'm going to go ahead and add this into the Covered Baker here, and then I'm going to add more tomatoes. My processor is a little bit smaller than I would like, so it will take me just a few times of doing this. If you have a larger manual processor, you can absolutely use that. Pretty quick. The rest of the tomato, the rest of the basil, and then I'm actually going to grab my garlic cloves. That is one thing I did forget to prepare ahead of time. I'm going to grab that really quickly. This recipe calls for 3 to 4 garlic cloves. Honestly, I don't think I ever really measure garlic. I use whatever my heart desires. Garlic is one of those things that is really a personal preference. So, grab, I think I'm actually just going to use a whole one of these. Okay, let me get my garlic pressed real quick. guys ever do that? You put something like, or something's right in front of your face and you have a hard time finding it when you need it. Hopefully I'm not the only one. All right. These are smaller cloves, so I am gonna put a few extra. I'm just gonna press it straight in there. All right, let's try this again. All right, so I'm just gonna press the garlic straight in there. There we go. All right, and the great thing about this tool is you don't have to really prep the garlic beforehand. Because the skin just stays right in there. You can just take the skin out and then do the next clove. Okay, just stays in there. You just get a fork or something and get it out of there. Realized I have a cut on my finger. That does not feel good. That'll be okay. All right, I think that's probably good. I'm just gonna put the lid back on that and give it a couple spins and pour that right into our pot. Use my mix-and scraper here and scrape down the sides, and then I can mix it in. Okay. All right, I'm gonna return the lid on it and put it right back into the microwave for another 8 minutes. All right, while that is cooking, I'm gonna go ahead and make some garlic bread to go with this. So I've got some pre-sliced French bread here. So I'm just gonna use that because that's what I have on hand. There's only 3 of us, but I am going to make a full tray of garlic bread because I can always toast it back up tomorrow or another night. but my family is a family of bread eaters, so I'm gonna make sure that we have plenty. So I'm gonna put that on the tray. On the broiler on my oven. Make sure there's no pans in there. I do sometimes store some of my pans in there, so I run out of cabinet space, believe it or not. All right. I'm gonna get some butter out. I don't think I have any out already. Already have my microwave occupied. I'm just gonna throw this on the oven or on the stove really quickly. A lot of times I would have just melted this in the microwave in a glass dish. Since I'm using that, I'm gonna do it this way. Normally I put the butter first, but I'm just going to go ahead and get some of the seasonings mixed in here. Salt. Grab some of those garlic cloves back earlier. Fork went. It's probably not the smartest move using the really big knife to pull that skin out, so don't try that at home. I know I used to be really scared to do the skin and all, because I was like, yeah, that's not what I was taught. You're supposed to peel it. But I swear that this tool is so amazing, because it really does keep that skin in there. Some of that skin out, but leave some of the other in there, because I think I put a little too much in that one, to be honest. And so there's still a little bit of garlic that's still left in there. So I'm just gonna make sure that I don't waste any of it. Alright, butter's nice and melted, so I'm gonna move that. I'm going to use some of my Italian seasoning. And I really just kind of guess on my garlic butter too, to be honest, guys. And oregano. Probably more butter than I need, but I never know. I'd rather have more butter than not enough. So I'm just gonna give that a really good mix. Maybe, oops, get a mess all over my counters. To have the husband clean up the kitchen after I'm done cooking. Oh yeah, that's good. All right, so then I just take that and I literally just kind of spread it over. Actually, honestly, I usually use a spoon. I find it just a little bit easier. I literally just pour it over the bread. Like I said, I always just kind of guess on the seasonings. I usually put the butter in first and then kind of guess, so this is a little different, but my family has never complained, even with the variations in my cooking, because like I said, I hardly ever measure. I measure when it comes to baking, especially at least the first couple of times I use a recipe, but for the most part I measure when I bake regardless, and I might just have like a slight variation once I get comfortable. Like, especially with the flavorings of stuff, but as far as cooking goes, I'm always just guessing. My kiddos mentioned wanting a meal. I'm like, I can never recreate the same meal twice. And if your girlfriend or wife one day ever wants any of my recipes, we're gonna be in trouble, because a lot of them, like I said, I just kind of guess, but definitely don't mind having anybody in the kitchen with me and learning it with me. Also, I hope I'm still staying in the camera. If I'm not, I do apologize. Alright. I'm gonna finish putting the butter on these. I have just a little bit of butter left, but I can actually save that for later. It'll solidify a little bit, and if I want to melt it down, I can, or I can just use it as spreadable butter. I'm gonna put this in the broiler for just a few minutes until that gets toasted. Sometimes I air fry. That usually takes a little longer. Sometimes I broil. All right, we'll take the pasta out of the microwave and let's see where it's at. Looks soft, it looks good. One second, guys. All right, let's give this a good little mix. Let's see where we're at with the noodles. Excuse my fingers, but again, it's just me, my husband, and my kiddo eating this tonight. It's not for a big group of people or anything. Otherwise, I would be a little more cautious with the utensils. Oh yeah, that has really good flavor. That is really good. All right, so there you have it. A home cooked meal, minimal dishes, less than 30 minutes. And honestly, you could have used less dishes than I did if, depending on how you wash your tomatoes and basil, using, how you melt your butter, that kind of stuff. And the butter was not part of this meal anyway. The garlic bread is optional, so definitely could reduce at least a little bit. But one last step here is the Parmesan cheese. I almost forgot the best part. I'm gonna take this, open my cheese. Take a slice of it. Calls for about an ounce. Again, I guess when it comes to cheese, you can't have too much. Just my opinion, but. All right, so I'm gonna just set that over that. I'm literally just gonna shred it right over the pasta here. I love this grater because I can put chunks of cheese or whatever in and not have to worry about my fingers getting sliced up, especially when it gets to the end. So that's always nice. I don't know about you guys, but I have scars on my knuckles from a couple times that I've messed with the grater, and the grater one. Probably put the rest of the Parmesan cheese on the table, so that way if my husband or kiddo decide they want to add a little bit more, they absolutely can. And there we go. It looks delicious. Thank you guys for watching. Love you.